Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, germs and worms, another week of the Playmakers Podcast Wrestling Edition. I am Dallas Glenn, and to the other side of me is Darnell, the Playmaker Silence. How are you doing this morning, Playmaker?
Doing good. Just be ready to rock and roll.
Yep. Okay, so last week, as you all might have realized, me and Darnell weren't really high on the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. This week,
We
we're
found
kind of,
out why.
yeah. Well, before we get started, I'm going to open up with something. Usually on the podcast, we don't like to cite other websites because we don't really know about their journalistic integrity. But NoDQ.com, with direct quotes from WrestleZone.com, published a very, very telling quote from somebody who I think me and Darnell can agree is one of the most respected non-wrestlers in the history of wrestling, Jr. Jim Ross.
Oof.
This
Oof.
this is what he said about the main event's finish at Hell in a Cell, verbatim. I'm going to read the quote because, quite frankly, we don't know how we would even drag out a full episode anyway. So I'm going to read this before we say anything. Remember, Jr. Jim Ross, his words, verbatim. Hell in a Cell. I enjoyed the broadcast on Sunday. I thought the controversial finish, and it was controversial, the Hell in a Cell main event, it did not adversely affect my overall opinion of the 3 hours and change that I invested in my life and that TV show. The main event finish did take the focus off of both Reigns and Strowman, which seemingly was the goal. If that was the goal, then they succeeded. Now, that finish is not what I would have done with the luxury, as you do, of looking at it in hindsight. Had a lot of bodies, Wild West was there, on the cage, off the cage, the side of the cage, became that stunt show at the end. It confused me a little bit. Which, when you book a match like that, how would you book a match and not have a viable finish in mind? And I'm sorry, just for my taste, and again, with the benefit of hindsight, I didn't foresee that finish was what was needed. Just me, but I do know that the issue of the title is still open. There's still a story there, and new players are at float, and who can trust who? There's a lot of things that could be made of this scenario. There's no honor amongst thieves, so that may stand big for McIntyre or some of these other dudes somewhere down the road. Let's remember that. It didn't turn me off of the whole show, is what I'm saying. So basically, that quote is JR himself even admitting you had a lot of stuff going on in that main event. If you watch the show all the remember that match, it wasn't the best Hell in a Cell match. Again, they really kind of did themselves in by opening this year's show with a Hell in a Cell match that probably stole the entire show. But when you look at that match, when you look at how everything was being set up, you kind of knew that the stables would somehow get involved. But Darnell, this is what's telling to me, because some people always like to say, oh, you weren't in the business, how would you know? Oh, this, oh, that, oh, this, oh, that. I'm in it on a small scale, but when somebody like JR even says, looking in hindsight, WWE did a whole lot, and even JR doesn't know what the goal was, and he's guessing at what the goal could have been, that lets me know that everything that pay-per-view was supposed to culminate to, everything that WWE itself was trying to culminate to with Roman Reigns finally getting a Universal Championship. That paragraph sums up everything. Like, I feel like the show was decent.
What was that after Hell in a Cell, before Raw?
Yeah, that was his comment on the finish, like basically after the pay-per-view, but before Raw. Because if
So
you pay attention to the end of that quote, you can tell that the events from Raw, he didn't see that yet.
so pretty much the next night we got our answer.
Yeah?
And it's like the most ridiculous answer we could have we wanted. Like, we did not want that answer.
Yeah, and it for me, and Darnell, let me be frank on my end here. I get it. I'm the wrestling geek. I'm the one that writes about it. And dude, like, I'm sorry. Like, the Jeff Hardy Randy Orton Hell in a Cell match stole the show. And the Becky Lynch win, that was really cool. I think that's exactly what they needed to do to keep that feud going. But dude, like, you could just steadily tell after that it's lame, dude. Like, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose going on the main card for the Raw Tag Team Championship that 2 weeks ago was a joke title. 2 weeks ago, the Raw Tag Team Championship was like damn near irrelevant. But you got the SmackDown Tag Team Championship, who's had 2 tournaments to provide the last 2 number 1 contenders on the kickoff show. Like,
see, that's why I felt bad when I said I kind of wish it wasn't Rusev Day for the tag team title, because everybody knew who was going to win, and it's like they had no choice but to put it on the kickoff show, because it's like pretty much you already sport the whole pay-per-view, but somebody got to be on the kickoff show. So,
yeah. What makes it even worse is they broke up Rusev Day.
Yeah, we gonna get to that, but we gonna keep it.
We'll get to it. But like I'm saying, I'm literally doing all of this because I'm doing what WWE literally has done. I'm putting everything else out there, and you just basically did perfectly what WWE has done. Yeah. You know, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, that's a good feud. Yeah. You know, we have to shuffle up the SmackDown Tag Team picture, which is really interesting. Because yeah. But Roman won the Universal Championship. We need y'all to look at that. Like, the Universal Championship is going on last every show, but we're gonna open up the show because y'all need to remember, like, you know, all that other stuff. They're just trying to win a title to have a good resume so they can face Roman. Y'all just remember that. Because, like, on Raw, they announced that they're going back to Saudi Arabia, and we're going to talk about the timing of this new pay-per-view. We're going to get to that.
And what month is in? Out of all the months.
The title of the damn thing. The title of it. Like,
what is it? Like Crown Jewel or something like that?
I thought it was the Greater Survivor Series.
No. Either like, that or Crown Jewel is one of the two.
So. It's one of the two. But dude, like, you basically announce 2 months, a month and a half ahead of time, Brock Lesnar, Braun Strowman.
Hold on. You open up Raw with Roman Reigns being Roman Reigns, calling out Brock Lesnar, rightfully so. You stuck your nose in my business. Get your behind out here. Braun Strowman comes out, and be honest, he ain't do nothing hellish, to be honest. I think he would call Roman Reigns a coward or something.
That's the thing with Becky Lynch and Braun Strowman. Like, dude, what really is not justified about their actions thus far? Where is Braun Strowman wrong?
He's not. But Baron Corbin comes out, and can we hear him get a new GM, please?
How did GM get in a Universal Championship match?
Can we get a new?
How we got the GM wrestling for the World Championship in a damn suit? Huh? Just let Baron Corbin get some. Just finish his new ring gear. He's got his mic skills. He had his little internship. Like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, you're playing it both ways. You want Baron Corbin to stay relevant. Yeah, you have him go against Finn Balor. You have him have a Universal Championship match. Like, dude, just you're high on Corbin. We get it. But dude, like, the GM wrestling for the World Championship is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
Out of the way. He comes out and he makes the announcement, Roman, you're going to defend your Universal title at this new show in Saudi Arabia against Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. And the show is going to happen in November.
The first weekend of November.
Now, so you basically already said Roman Reigns is defending the title, so we already know that'll last until November, at least. 2, Baron Corbin's getting a title shot we know good damn well in hell he ain't winning that damn title.
You weren't going to win it even if you had the briefcase, which technically you do. I'm really trying to figure out how you have a heel GM that's still at.
They never made the official announcement that Braun Strowman cashed in.
Here's what's bothering me about that. You have two heels. You have a heel Money in the Bank winner that turns heel after the fact and can always renege because the match never started. You've established that if a match doesn't officially start, they can renege on the cash-in. You have a heel GM that's still an active wrestler that has the briefcase in his possession, and it was never officially announced that Braun Strowman cashed in. He made the match 3 weeks ahead of time, and Braun handed him the briefcase. The briefcase was technically willingly handed over. Braun Strowman could have still gotten his championship match, and you still could have promoted the championship match, and Baron Corbin could say, hey, Braun, I have good news and I have bad news. One, it's never been done before. Two, it's like Baron Corbin's really had the briefcase this whole time and just had a Universal Championship match. And Braun didn't walk to Hell in a Cell with the briefcase, but Baron Corbin is not now Mr. Money in the Bank. It's literally perfect. Heel GM can really make any match he wants and would have the briefcase.
All right, for those that might be confused with what we're saying, yeah, we heard Michael Cole say he's cashing in his Money in the Bank, but the announcer, JoJo, never said that Braun Strowman officially cashed in the Money in the Bank contract when the cell match happened.
And for the guys groaning and sucking their teeth, One Night Stand 2006 is all I'm going to say. One Night Stand 2006 was known a month beforehand as well. You could tell that was a damn cash-in. Everything about that was cash-in. RVD came down with the briefcase, cashed in the briefcase, and you could tell it was home field advantage, everything. So don't give me that whole he cashed it in, you're asking for too much, blah, 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 blah. Because when RVD cashed in, it was not a month beforehand. You could tell it was a cash-in. Like, dude, rewinding, what JR said, it's telling, dude. Like, JR is not necessarily a company guy because that's a whole nother part of history as far as how he left WWE. But for JR to basically say, I don't get how you have all that happen. I don't get how you have this build-up in the match's story and not have a definitive finish is telling. There's so many things to unpack with that finish and what they ended up doing on Raw. Braun Strowman loses Money in the Bank, his Money in the Bank cash-in, then gets announced for a triple threat match in November. Now, because it's another Saudi Arabia show and there's literally oil under the country.
I got a question. Is Braun Strowman pulling double duty in Saudi Arabia?
I think because this is the greatest Survivor Series, not the greatest Royal Rumble, I don't think he's going to be in a 50-man Battle Royale. I don't think they're doing the Battle Royale this go-around. I think that's why they're having the WWE World Cup.
Okay.
I think that's the shtick with this one, the whole WWE World Cup thing. Even though you have the three, let's be honest, the three top guys who are contenders for the Universal Championship, which is supposed to be the most prestigious prize in sports entertainment, according to Michael Cole, fighting in a triple threat. When you think about it that way, is it really the true World Cup? Because you have to think AJ would be defending the WWE Championship. It'll be in the mid-card.
Oh, we definitely going to get that one. Oh,
yeah, it'll be in the mid-card, but AJ is going to be defending. So you got four of the top guys, five really, when you think about who's going to be defending against whoever it is. You got five of the top guys that are going to be busy in World Championship matches. So is it really the best in WWE? Is it really a true WWE World Cup?
Just to let y'all know, for those who haven't watched SmackDown, we're going to get into it, but all of a sudden, the WWE Championship is involving four guys all of a sudden.
I'm still trying to figure out how the hell that happened.
Who figured that one out? But now we know what Ronda Rousey's doing in Australia now.
Yeah, her and the Bella's going to be a little tissy. I mean,
against the Wyatt Squad.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm gonna throw myself out there. I'm saying a Riot Squad sneaker victory. Nikki Bella turns on Ronda Rousey, and they fighting that Evolution.
Dude, they have to. Like, Riot Squad, it's one of those things where the women's tag team championship has to be right around the corner. It has to be, doesn't it? Like, Bella Twins coming back, Riot Squad, Iconics, Ember Moon, Night, like the Boston Hug connection. Like, it has to be around the corner, doesn't it? Or they have to at least be truly, seriously thinking about it. It has to be like a serious thought at this point, doesn't it?
Just saying.
They have to win. Because like that's gonna be your main event. That's gonna be like one of your main eventers in the women's tag team division. And me and you were talking about this. Like it has to be an undisputed title. I already don't think they have enough credible women for the women's championships. Because when you really think about it, on the SmackDown side, it's Naomi, Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Asuka, Carmella. You got 5 women on the SmackDown roster who could immediately be in a women's championship feud, and you don't really need a lot of build. But you got to think of like who else is on the women's roster, and people like Tamina who haven't been even been on TV in forever. Then on the Raw side, you have Ronda Rousey, but because it's Ronda Rousey, you pretty much know Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss, maybe Nia Jax. Those are the 3 who probably will get title shots against Ronda Rousey. Everybody else, you pretty much know it's just going to be a squash, or in Nikki Bella's case, politics. So on both sides, you pretty much have the champion and 4 people that can really be in feuds, like off bat. The tag team championship, like, now you got to imagine, you got to put some of those singles wrestlers together like you did with Sasha Banks and Bayley, and you need for it to be undisputed. You're messing up the whole brand extension thing with the Brie Bella thing anyway. You're really blurring the lines. Like, Undertaker, he doesn't even show up on SmackDown anymore. Darnell, do you remember? Was it last year where like Undertaker came back and like he did like the pep talk for the SmackDown team?
Yep.
He did the pep talk for the SmackDown team, but he's been on Raw ever since. I know he's at that status to where he's not really on a brand, but again, continuity and consistency, like.
Which reminds me, next month, is it the 16th? SmackDown 1,000 episode.
Yeah, you have to imagine Undertaker's going to at least have a cameo on that, which is really weird because he was on Raw 25.
If they don't bring The Rock, I'm going to be mad because The Rock started all that.
Yeah, there is no SmackDown without The Rock. I don't know what he would do. It'd probably be a nice little 5-minute segment. Might rock bottom some kind of jobber low on the totem pole, but I mean.
Don't matter.
It don't. It does not.
Getting back to the business at hand. So, John Cena's coming back.
Mm-hmm.
He's teaming up with Lashley to take on Kevin Owens and Elias. Lethal Rush on Raw.
Good, great for him. Glad he was able to get away from that tweet.
Backing up Bobby Lashley.
Really, kind of, sort of. He almost stole the show.
Okay. Why? Well, who idea was it for? Okay, so 205, y'all do y'all thing here, but y'all gonna come on Raw and be managers. Who idea was that?
Then what's even weirder is, I mean, we get that Leo Rush is a wrestler on 205 Live, so we know what he can do. But like, I wonder how that went over. Like, obviously, they produced that segment, and that segment went how it was supposed to go. But you have a manager that athletic? I mean, the dude did a back handspring into an enziguri. Are managers really supposed to be able to do that? Even if you do know that they literally wrestle later in the week and compete for a championship later in the week? I mean,
The GM of the show is the manager
for
of
Authors
a
of
team that
Pain.
we waiting on to dominate.
Yeah, and I think I feel like one of the parts of him being the manager is the looks of it. The aesthetic of it is just wow. Like Leo Rush looks very small in comparison to Bobby Lashley and really everybody else, but my God, the way Drake Maverick looks next to AOP. Like, it's interesting because if you take away 205 Live, which I'm sure a lot of the casual audience does, you wouldn't know the difference between the cruiserweights and a manager. Like Leo Rush and Drake Maverick are not those tall, buff, like NFL wide receiver style cruiserweights. Like they look like managers. They're very believable as managers, which is a good thing because when you think about it, Darnell, the way that 205 Live in the cruiserweight division first went over when they came back, that might be the best way to get some of the cruiserweights in the main event scene on the main roster. That might just be the shot. It's them being managers for somebody. Because, like, you have to think that AOP being put against jobbers and basically being established this quickly with a tag team championship duo like McIntyre and Ziggler, and with a pretty much who we were guessing to be the next champions, and Rollins and Ambrose, you have to think AOP's getting fast tracked, right? Like squash matches and a manager after not being on TV for like months.
I mean, I give Leo Rush credit. That was a good segment between him and Elias.
Yeah, Bobby Lashley, I mean, he was straight in TNA, but maybe they finally said he needed a mouthpiece. Because Leo Rush can talk too. He's like that gnat in your ear, which is a good thing for the style manager. Apparently he is.
So that's interesting. I think that's it for Raw.
Yeah, they only had 3 matches. I mean, they only had 3 matches.
Pretty much the main event was just like Hell in a Cell main event, but so we actually had a finish.
Yeah. I mean, long story short, we still got to talk about SmackDown and everything, but I'm pretty sure you agree with me. Looking in hindsight and having a chance to cool off after that finish, dude, it's clear to see that Hell in a Cell was literally just a placeholder. And that's okay, because not every pay-per-view is going to be monumental. Not every pay-per-view is going to be historic. Not every pay-per-view is going to end a feud. Pay-per-views, especially in this era, when you think about it, they're not TV, but they're supposed to still have that significance to let you know that, like, this will greatly affect TV. And when they made the whole Crown Jewel announcement and all that stuff, that's basically what Hell in a Cell was. Before we move on to SmackDown, that's literally what it was.
I really hate that announcement.
I hate it. I just don't like how you've been spending this whole time promoting the Australia show and the Evolution show, and you damn near done ran over everything you just did. Like, the Australian show and the Saudi Arabia show, let's just call it what it is. These are house shows that you're putting a lot of money and marketing behind because you want to make sure asses are in seats and you can capitalize off of these markets that are untouched and untapped. Saudi Arabia hasn't had pro wrestling in anything Western in forever. Australia has nothing but small indies. Let's call this what this is. These are overhyped house shows, and you want to make sure people's asses are in seats, which is why I'm with you, Darnell. I hate it. Because you're going to go over to Saudi Arabia and do the whole card subject to change thing. You're trying to sell tickets in Saudi Arabia and you're going to change that triple threat match? What's the point?
I hate it for a different reason.
What?
Whenever has the WWE did 2 quote unquote pay-per-views in a month where the big 5 is in that month?
Which one's the 5th one, real quick?
Man, we pretty much call the Money in the Bank a big pay per
Oh
view.
yeah. Money in the Bank is pretty much nowadays. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, because dude, let me Google it real quick. Because I am almost certain that the greatest Royal Rumble was in like February or March or shit. Wasn't it after WrestleMania?
It was out there. It was in April. It was at the end of April.
And now, hold on, I need to actually see the dang. I'm going to actually look at what is the title of this damn thing.
You gonna
Like,
have this at the beginning of November, knowing only in 2 weeks' time Survivor Series right there, because you always do Survivor Series before the week of Thanksgiving.
yes. Okay, so the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view is actually going to be called Crown Jewel. So it's not going to be Greatest Survivor Series or something like that, thank God. But dude, it's like you said, dude, like, how are you going to have Survivor Series, which was already on its last leg, and you're going to set up this event the first weekend? Like, you have less than 2 million paid subscribers on the WWE network. And this isn't me just pulling numbers out there. They said it on like the most recent conference call back in June. They only have like 1.8 million subscribers on the network. So I don't see how glorified house shows at 1 in the afternoon and 5 in the morning are going to help you get subscribers when people are going to be at work. Like, people are going to be at work or sleep. So having a 5 a.m. and 1 p.m. airtime for a pay-per-view is not going to draw viewers to the network. Like, you're trying to serve another market and you're trying to really promote this show, but you have a big 5 coming up. You're taking a lot of the steam from it. Like, Darnell, why do we have to see these shows? Why should we care about these shows? What is so special about the Australia show and the Saudi Arabia show? Why do we need to see these shows, Darnell? Because New Japan Pro Wrestling is the worldwide number 2 right now. CMLL is probably the worldwide number 3. How come WWE doesn't show us any of the house shows in Mexico? How come WWE doesn't air their Osaka show? Hell, WWE is trying to block Ring of Honor from using Madison Square Garden, but they never even show the Madison Square Garden show. They had a title. They had the United States Championship change hands at the Madison Square Garden show 2 years ago. And now they want to be mad that somebody else is using it, but they won't air that show. But we're supposed to care and wake up at 5 in the morning to watch this Australia show. Why are you announcing these cards? Why does it matter? You go overseas. You just came from the European tour. Why do we need to know these cards? Why do you basically need to tell us, the core audience, Britain, United States, Canada, Mexico, whoever can like watch Raw and SmackDown at the regular cable times, why do you need to tell us a card for 2 months ahead in a completely different part of the world?
You brought up Britain. And when you said Britain, I thought about something. If y'all gonna do all these big behind shows in Australia and Saudi Arabia, when does Britain get a pay-per-view?
Exactly. Like, what you've taped the NXT UK Women's Championship tournament. You're saying that you're taping NXT TV. Hell, you're just now taping the NXT TV, the NXT UK TV show. That was something that was promised to the UK division when they did the first tournament. You're just now getting to that. When is NXT UK going to get their own pay-per-view? When are we going to have the NXT UK Women's Championship, the NXT UK Singles Championship, and maybe an NXT UK Tag Championship? When are we going to when are we going to get that?
No, I'm not just talking about NXT. I'm talking about Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. When you going to go over in Britain? You've been to Canada.
Yeah, it's like, when I think of Britain, not just like the colonial ties and not just stuff like that, it's one of those things where it's like, you can't tell me. You used to have a European Championship. When you brought back the European Championship, you made it the United Kingdom Championship. It's not the same lineage. It's a completely different title. But Darnell, I agree with you. Isn't it telling that out of all the names and all the things they could have done, they named it the United Kingdom Championship? Doesn't that let you know that there is like a hotbed market? There's a hot market for pro wrestling in Britain. If WWE is going to make a title like that, they'd make the money.
If I remember correctly, when they were getting ready for Survivor Series last year, didn't AJ Styles win the title over in Britain?
Yes, taped.
You changed the most prestigious title in your company over in Britain.
On a taped SmackDown. First time ever it changed hands on SmackDown, and it was on tape delay.
Britain has been claiming for a pay-per-view for how long?
Dude, like you give it NXT, you give it a title change, but dude, like, I get it, I do. Australia's untapped in Saudi Arabia. I'm not joking when this is a shoot. Like, they have oil under the damn country. If you nuke a street, oil will literally shoot out. It's the richest area in the world. We can't get mad at the money play. It's just, it's those things that you look at it and it's almost like it's so obvious that if you look at it as a wrestling fan, you almost feel like it's so obvious that I feel like if I say it, maybe I'm missing something.
They could have pushed this event to December.
I mean, now that I have the title for sure, it's called Crown Jewel. Like, Crown Jewel, you could have that anytime.
You could have ended the year with that, because only paper you got is TLC.
And Lord knows we can do without that. If this event is truly going to be as big as you're trying to make it, we can do without TLC. Because y'all don't give a damn about TLC anyway. Y'all don't give a damn about none of the pay-per-views that are named after a match. We're counting Money in the Bank as a pseudo Big Five, but look at all the pay-per-views named after a match. They really ain't caring about them pay-per-views, including Extreme Rules.
You gonna do it in the month of Survivor Series?
And before, not after.
You knowing that you have to do Survivor Series before Thanksgiving week? Which means you ain't giving yourself no room. That means the Crown Jewel show got to be on point, and then Survivor Series got to be on point. What's the likelihood of shows being on point?
Do you think they do the SmackDown versus Raw format this year again? I mean, every match SmackDown versus Raw.
The way they're going, it might be the only way.
You have to think.
Cause there's no way to build up Survivor Series.
Just like the Australian pay-per-view and the Crown Jewel pay-per-view is basically the way that the men are going to get on TV, and that Evolution is the way for the women to get their own event.
See, I don't have a problem with that. You know why? Because Super Showdown is at the beginning of October. Evolution's at the end of October.
That's what I'm getting to. It's like it's sandwiched. Evolution is sandwiched in between an event that's just for the men and an event with the men. Do you think that, like the way that is, where you can't really get mad, that Crown Jewel is basically going to be the real pay-per-view and Survivor Series is going to be the lame SmackDown versus Raw pay-per-view? So, like, we already got our real pay-per-view for the month, and they're just going to do a big old gimmick for Survivor Series?
Which is just terrible. It's terrible. That's one of your longest running pay-per-views.
I mean, dude, look at the month of October and tell me that basically isn't what this is. We're gonna give you a real pay-per-view so you don't get mad at the gimmick one. It sucks that I'm saying it like that, but look at how they're treating it. Look at how. Go ahead.
You're gonna give Australia at the beginning of the month. Okay, cool. We got about 3 weeks. Then the women take over. All right, cool. Then like a week later, the men take over. And then like 2 weeks later, Survivor Series is like, yo, from Evolution to Saudi Arabia to Survivor Series, there is like no type of rigor room whatsoever. Unless the simple fact that Evolution is all women, y'all gonna do what y'all gotta do for both shows in November.
And here's what bugs me the most about that. Because if somebody were to like listen to a snippet of this, they would get like a misconstruction of what I am trying to say. What I am trying to say is Evolution isn't going to be on the level of Survivor Series. First off, it's the first one. But as far as social and industry-wide significance, Evolution, when you look at Survivor Series the past couple years, is bigger. I don't like how this glorified house show has basically has steamrolled all the promotion for Evolution. That's why I'm like, why do we care about a 5 a.m. Eastern time house show? 4 a.m. my time. Like, why do I care? Evolution is the first time World Wrestling Entertainment has ever have all women. We're going to have a pay-per-view with all women. We're going to have the finals of an all-women's tournament. We're going to have every women's championship on the line. And the way that everything is going, you have to think that they're going to crown the first ever women's tag team champions in 2018. Like, why do I care about a house show in Australia that's going on the same month as this monumental pay-per-view? Why do I care?
And to stick with the house show that I'm calling a pay-per-view because that's the way they've been building it, this one. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, no DQ, no count out, no nothing. There has to be a winner. Okay, we can see that. We kind of seen that when they did what they did at Hell in a Cell.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part is, thanks to The Miz, Daniel Bryan and The Miz gonna go at it one more time. But this time, the winner becomes the number one contender for the WWE Championship.
Now, how in the hell did those two randomly just become the number 2 and 3 contenders?
So basically, this feud between Samoa Joe and AJ Styles looks like it's going to end at Australia.
So let's try to connect the dots here. One of 3 things is about to happen. Samoa Joe is either about to win, or The Miz and Daniel Bryan are about to draw, and it will be a triple threat for the WWE Championship, or Daniel Bryan's about to win and be Samoa Joe's first feud as champion. I feel like if it's a triple threat and Daniel Bryan and The Miz find a way to draw, AJ Styles beats Samoa Joe. Like, I feel like if Daniel Bryan wins, like, when is this match? Next week or in Australia?
No, this is in Australia.
So they're having this number 1 contenders match in Australia.
In Australia. You can pretty much say Australia's getting a full dose of a pay-per-view. The full entire dose of a pay-per-view.
You know what the crazy thing is? The number 1 contenders match for the WWE Championship is probably going to happen after the WWE Championship match. Isn't that some?
The way I'm thinking, and you know me, I think outside the box. Samoa Joe beats AJ Styles, which means AJ Styles has to have a rematch. Miz and Daniel Bryan have a draw, and somehow pays through all 4 of them being together.
Now here's the even crazier thing. We're gonna have to wait for the crown jewel. So it's basically gonna be like 4-man chaos. And here's the even weirder thing. Styles hates Joe, Bryan hates Miz. But what's the middle ground to make this a 4-man feud? People with Dallas, stop being a mark. The WWE Championship is the middle ground. Is it really? Is it really? When you think about how this feud between Samoa Joe and AJ Styles has been written, the disrespect for a man's family is what this feud is really based around. The challenging of a man's manhood is what this feud is based around. The WWE Championship just happens to be a prize for Samoa Joe to go after, and the thing that AJ Styles loves most in this world, according to Samoa Joe. With Daniel Bryan and The Miz, they hate each other that much. Literally, one beating the other for a chance at the WWE Championship is just them saying, ha, I've kept you from yet another accomplishment. The WWE Championship is even secondary.
The Miz literally asked Maurice to fake an injury to try to get an upper hand on Daniel Bryan.
Like, it's the WWE Championship is literally secondary to the main issues in these feuds. So again, I ask, like, what is going to be the middle ground that makes this a fatal four-way feud and not two different feuds happening to be in a match for a world championship? What has made you think in the past year and a half that The Miz or Daniel Bryan even care about the WWE Championship? Hell, The Miz was single-handedly building up the Intercontinental Championship a year ago.
Oh, see, with The Miz involved, The Miz he gonna tailor to that WWE Championship. So we gotta know the Miz and championships. If you want to put a title of notice on somebody or have somebody involved, The Miz is a good option. The Miz is a great option.
I can only imagine the promos. I can only imagine like the response to like stuff that's going on in the industry by The Miz. I could just imagine the shade and indirect shots that The Miz would take if he was WWE champion. He would cut promos before every match and every kickoff show. He would say, if I'm not in the main event, there will be hell to pay. And then when you hear The Miz's music and it's only the fourth match, you just know this is about to be the best 15 minutes of mic work ever. You remember when Kurt Angle used to just stop the show and go in the back when people used to say that he sucked and he wanted them to act right? That would be The Miz at pay-per-views if he was WWE champion. I just saw the best women's championship match in history, but it was for the women's championship. Boo! I am the WWE. Boo! Like, it would be amazing. He would backhand compliment every match that went before him, then just get the best heat ever and just walk to the back. Like, he would force the show to just go on, and then he would go on when he felt like it was time. Samoa Joe doesn't have that. Samoa Joe would be a great heel champion because he would just be the Terminator. He would just be choking out everybody in sight, and it would just look sad and hopeless. But The Miz has that character. The Miz has that extra oomph to where he wouldn't take that. What's unfortunate, though, is when you think of Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe, do they look at The Miz in that role with those other three men involved? I mean, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, those options speak for themselves. We got a guy that went from Chile to some major United States city in the span of 12 hours after working house shows all over South America and worked a pay-per-view match against Finn Balor last minute. Then did Raw and SmackDown the next two nights. And then Daniel Bryan, I mean, dude, it's Daniel Bryan. The money's there. Then Samoa Joe, he has to win something eventually, doesn't he?
I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, dude, I ain't got nothing either. This episode is supposed to be the aftermath recap of Hell in a Cell, but I mean, if you've been paying attention, like, we've barely talked about Hell in a Cell. Like, we talked about Hell in a Cell for like 5 minutes. Dude, that's basically our recap of Hell in a Cell. It's okay. We've had our chance to stew and think, dude, it's okay that a pay-per-view was basically used to further stuff. It's okay that the TV shows right after the pay-per-view were monumental and had a bunch of big breaking news, but I mean, don't expect us to just sit here and love everything that WWE does. Don't expect us to just sit there and be like, enjoy the show. It's just entertainment. Why are you so, dude? No, because anybody that's an NFL fan, anybody that's a college fan, good God, I hate the dudes that say, oh, you've never wrestled, oh, you've never played, how would you know anything? But you're super passionate about a college team and you want to criticize a college team and you want to trash talk a coach and a 21-year-old student that happens to be a quarterback and you never even went to the school. For people that can't see the disconnect between fans of college teams at a school they never went to and wrestling fans being critical of WWE, I have nothing to say. All I can say, and this will be like my closing remarks, all I can say is, as a fan, I'm as critical as I have been on this week's episode, but as a small business owner who literally works for every dime that I earn, there is no day job, there is no W-2. Like everything I do with my business is my income. So, dude, what Vince McMahon is doing is genius. Again, he already has a $2 billion bag. His stock price quadrupled within a year. WWE's stock price is the highest it's ever been, and it keeps staying in the 80s. It might be in the 90s, but I haven't checked in a couple days. After getting a Saudi Arabia bag in April, right after WrestleMania in the New Orleans bag, he's going to get an Australia bag. Then he's going to get the Social Justice Evolution bag. Then he's going to go right back to Saudi Arabia and get that bag. Whatever money he was going to lose for Survivor Series, he doesn't give a damn. Now, I don't believe in the trickle-down economic theory. I don't believe that Vince McMahon getting all these bags is going to trickle down to the wrestlers and the staff members. That's BS. But Vince McMahon, the businessman, Vince McMahon, the promoter, I don't care about Vince McMahon, the booker. I don't care about Vince McMahon, the character. Vince McMahon, the promoter and the owner of a company. I mean, hats off to him. I'm not even being sarcastic. I admire it. I wish I could secure the bags and make the business moves and make the decision and do the branding that Vince McMahon has done. If you're a small business owner or if you're a wrestling promoter and you don't want to be like Vince McMahon, I question everything about you as a business person and really wonder why you want to be in business in the first place. Vince McMahon took a regional wrestling promotion and made it a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded entertainment company. That is amazing, whatever the in-ring product is. But when I switch off the small business owner hat and go back to being a wrestling fan, that's this podcast episode. I'm Darnell, and we're about to be done. I'm honestly conflicted on which hat I need to start looking at WWE with. Because if I look at it as a small business owner, it's the best thing ever. I can't be mad. But I'm not watching it for business advice. I'm watching WWE because I'm a wrestling fan. I'm watching WWE because that's one of the few promotions from my childhood that's A, still around, and B, not struggling and on their fifth name. I don't know, dude. Well, we'll see, because they have 3 big shows coming up. They have 3 big shows coming up, and they've announced almost all the card for Australia and Evolution. So it kind of makes you wonder, why watch TV? Literally, why watch the TV shows when you pretty much know the cards for these pay-per-views that are coming up, and they're not going to change these cards. They're not going to risk that money. They're going to do exactly what was advertised when somebody gets hurt. So, that'll do it. Later.